So I think it's going to be important to note that, I did all this on purpose, and I posted on most of my posts and said in my videos, I'm baiting you, I'm baiting you, I'm baiting you. And I'm talking to Epstein's partners in crime. And I also was signaling to those who are assisting Governor Hochul and her independent investigation, whether it's the lawyer she hired, whether or not they're corrupt, I don't know, but she herself, I was signaling to them what was going on. Now, what did I do? I kept tagging Sarah George in posts and kept mentioning her name. I kept mentioning Senator Sanders, and I kept mentioning Mulvaney Stanek, and I did that for a reason, because I knew from Arizona, Missouri, and New York, they would drop Senator Sanders' name. Well, he's a diplomat, he's a senator. That's really not too... Now, based on the fact that they just did two malicious, openly and notorious malicious acts in the name of Bernie Sanders with the no trespassing, and they did that in the name of Sarah George, Mulvaney Stanek, and Bernie Sanders with the no trespassing and the malicious restraining order. However, when they dropped Sarah George's name and then Mulvaney Stanek's name, I don't know if Mulvaney Stanek has a license to practice law, but I would imagine she has attorneys who advise her. Okay? So if her attorneys are advising her to send people to run honeypot operations on me and gaslight me and threaten me and file bogus restraining orders and stalk me and put no trespasses on me, lie on me and do a no trespass when they don't know damn well I'm terminally ill, whatever, that puts their licenses on the line. Sarah George, you just put her license to practice law on the line. You think her lawyers, she ain't going to represent herself. Any attorney who represents themselves has a fool for a client. Bernie Sanders ain't going to represent himself. He's got lawyers advising him, probably a team of them. And I believe they've been out watching what's really going on. So it's not like any of these bad actors can claim that they weren't doing what they were doing, because it's all on video, it's all on surveillance. And I just let them believe that I was buying their BS, and that's why I sent those emails saying, you're killing me. I knew they were up to something. And I had to bait them, and what that did was that, number one, created plenty of mens rea, plenty of evidence of criminal intent to go with the criminal act. And then when they got defensive, and then they really escalated their violence and trying to shut down my camp, evict me, and no trespass me, and pull me into court. That's why that cop, well, if you don't show up to court, it stays in put. You have to go defend yourself. They're trying to bait me to go into that courthouse. I know for a fact that the security at the door, you get searched, they go through your stuff. They're wanting me to come in there with something they're going to call contraband, whether it's my chemo pills, my bupe, my mace, a knife, whatever. It's a setup. I knew they were going to do that, but here's the problem. When Autumn Caton and all of her friends claimed to work for Mulvaney Stanek, Bernie Sanders, and Sarah George, that puts Sarah George's license on the line to practice law. It also puts Emmett Wood's license to practice law on the line. He can face sanctions through the Vermont Judicial Oversight. Judge Shafritz can absolutely face sanctions through there's judicial oversight oversight on judges, and then there's oversight on your basic. And I guess judges can probably face sanctions for both. They can face sanctions for making decisions as judges, and if they knowingly used false evidence, they can lose their license to practice law. Now, what gift did I just give Sarah George's lawyers, Bernie Sanders' lawyers, and Mulvaney Stanek's lawyers, and Shafritz and Wood, if they're not corrupt? They now get to file sanctions against every licensed professional who were utilizing Autumn Caton, Becky Burrell, and Ranger Preston, and the social worker, and that corrupt police officer, who were acting on behalf of a whole lot of lawyers nationwide, and judges, and licensed peace officers, and doctors, and nurses, and licensed social workers, clinics and hospitals who have licenses, government contractors, United Healthcare, Centene Corporation, and Chris Koster, who was former Missouri Attorney General. Josh Hawley's license as the former Missouri Attorney General. Andrew Bailey's license as the current Missouri, or former, I don't know if he's still Missouri Attorney General, but I know he got appointed as the assistant director of DOJ, whatever the fucking bullshit position they made up to give him a federal appointment. It means Sarah George's and Bernie's and Mulvaney Stanek's lawyers can file complaints against Emma Bovee, Todd Blanche, Pam Bondi, the SDNY, if he's involved in it, the Southern District of New York prosecutor that's claiming he's investigating Democrats on behalf of Trump. Never mind, Trump's a damn Democrat, and it's a uniparty, and it's all that's just theater. And not just New York and Vermont, but New York and Vermont are covering for Chad Cronin, who's an attorney, Laura Maria Pichardo Cruz, Andrea Morgan from Morgan & Morgan, Florida Senator Rick Scott, Virginia Piper and her lawyers, the Goldwaters and her lawyers, Kristi Noem and her lawyers, Kegs Breath and his lawyers. I got the whole kit and caboodle. I just handed you, all you people here in Vermont, all you uncorrupted, the 3 Vermonters are the key here. That doesn't mean Hochul can't have some fun too, because a lot of these assholes are licensed in the state of New York. They weren't just Autumn Caton and Becky Burrell, and if the judge Safritz is corrupt and Wood is corrupt and this peace officer and social worker Ranger Preston, they weren't just acting on behalf of New York and Vermont licensed professionals. They were acting on behalf of lawyers, judges, nurses, doctors, social workers we know for a fact, from Florida, Arizona, Missouri, and New York. Now, do we expect much oversight in Missouri, Florida, or Arizona? Hell no. But New York, judicial oversight, or, New York Bar Association can certainly subpoena and do an investigation into all the lawyers and who they were working with. So can Vermont judiciary and Sarah George's. Instead of repeating everybody's names over and over again, but all the 3 progressives, particularly Sarah George, her defense attorneys, they can now act on her behalf because she just got set up for crime. They just set her up to face criminal charges because Autumn is claiming to work for George Mulvaney Stanek and Senator Sanders. So her private attorneys and anybody else's, if Wood and Shafreets aren't jumping in to say, I want to nail every motherfucker who just put my license online, then that means they're guilty. That means they're involved. They better be shouting to the motherfucking rafters. So, yes, I did all this on purpose. I just ran with the ball, dribble, and then did a Scottie Pippen and passed you the ball like you're Michael Jordan to do your layup because I'm not a lawyer. I do not have the time or the manpower to go file complaints and then go to the hearings at Vermont Judiciary oversight, attorney oversight, New York oversight. Your lawyers can do that. That doesn't mean I won't show up and testify. Also, that probably means since Sarah George is now, and Mulvaney Stanek and Bernie Sanders are victims as well of Brady violations, they're kind of conflicted, and that means that Sarah George can petition the New York, I don't know about the New York, but either the Vermont Attorney General and Governor to hire a special independent investigation to handle it. Because these motherfuckers are impersonating law enforcement on behalf of other law enforcement. And that means that those special investigators, and they've already got all the evidence because the state police and the sheriff's department and I guess Cousy and Hochul's undercovers were already all over it. But they were waiting on me to come forward and hand them the evidence and give them just cause to start defending themselves. And ain't nobody going to claim entrapment because post after post after post, I told you over and over again. And yes, I baited them into filing that bogus restraining order because they did it in Missouri. Beth Sweeney's friend, Karen Hyatt, filed a restraining order, lied through her teeth. And luckily, Judge Shaw was a good judge and did her job and blatantly asked her, how did Heather get your phone number? Well, I gave it to her. And caught her in a bunch of lies and basically kicked her ass out of the courtroom. She should have charged her right then and there. Now, the other two judges, Devine and Schneider, their Judge Hoare was covering for them. Their asses can lose their licenses and their judgeships too. Of course, all the lawyers helping Piper and all the lawyers